I held her hand as we came down from the car. Ember drew her hand away and looked straight away, still very upset. I was upset too, but I was trying too hard to understand her. She wouldn't tell me who she was dining at, and she was lying through her nose. I knew she was as I knew her mannerisms, but it could also mean that she was protecting this lady's identity. Why was she even doing that? Before we got into the main house, I stopped her and quickly signed with my fingers while speaking at the same time. Just tell me who she is, Ember. I want to fully appreciate her for the help. She eyed me for a second before signing too.
You came in with a bunch of other men, Papa. You were going to hurt her.
No, I promise that was not on my agenda.
So what were the men for?
I stopped, frustrated. My 4-year-old was winning the argument, and there was nothing I could do but be defeated. I could tell Ember 1 billion times that I was only trying to help, and she wouldn't believe me. Was that why she ran away from the house? Because I was too overbearing for her? She won't tell me that also, which means I was kept in the dark about why she had to run away. July came up to hug us. She grabbed Ember and spun her in the air, laughing all the way.
Oh, my little ladybug, you're finally home.
Ember did not laugh. She struggled and kicked her feet until July dropped her down. Laughing nervously, July came over and kissed my cheeks, muttering about how she made some food and if I wanted to eat right away. Ember scoffed and marched into the garden. We both looked at her until her shadow disappeared.
She does not like me.
I'd rather take a shower and unwind first. I wasn't exactly in the mood to start discussing if my daughter did or did not like my girlfriend. When I was done with shower, I came out to peer at the garden through the transparent glass in the living room. Ember was still there, plowing away her weed, but she wasn't alone. July sat opposite her, cracking jokes and laughing at her own jokes. I turned about to grab liquor from the shelf when I heard Ember scream. I looked back and saw that July had pushed her off a bit, then fell down too, so it would look like Ember was the one who did the pushing. I was stunned for a moment, staring at Ember brush off dust on her arm while July shouted for me.
Darling, my goodness, I told you this daughter of yours was wayward.
There was a time I could not get enough of July. Times that I went mad for her, times that I would move mountains for her. Those times were gone. What I have left now is pure affection for Ember, and if anyone thinks bullying a 4-year-old was going to get her anywhere with me, then she was dead wrong. I went out to the garden and stood over them. Ember did not make a sound, but July gestured wildly to the girl.
She pushed me. Did you see that? She pushed me.
I stared at her for a long time. Those times between us both was gone, vanished. What was left now was barely contained insanity. I beckoned my personal bodyguard closer with the tip of my finger. Yes, July saw that. She breathed a sigh of relief.
Good. Then you must know that Ember has not been a very good child lately.
Ember stood up and ran into the house. I shouted after her, asking her to shower before heading to bed. Richard came closer and stood beside me.
Yes, boss?
Send her out. July immediately jumped up.
Me. Send me out. Whatever for.
I shrugged. I can't very well send Ember out, can I? However, is she going to survive when people like you prey on her all the time? Send her out, Richard. Richard bundled her on his shoulder. She kicked and screamed and cursed. It wasn't the best way to handle things, but our relationship has been strained lately, and I've come to realization that she would be a terrible mom to Ember. Afterwards, when the peace and quiet settled in, I checked in on my little girl. As usual, she was sleeping with her shoes on. I gently took off her shoes and jacket, then placed the blanket over her. My life was a mess, and I kept roping her in it. It's no wonder why she wanted to leave in the first place. I was too tired to take this up with July, but I'll be sure to complete our differences when I'm done with Eleni. Richard was waiting for me in the living room when I came out. He was one of my henchmen, the closest one, in fact. I poured myself a glass of undiluted liquor before focusing on that. Have you got footage with you? Richard shook his head.
No, boss. I spoke with the R and they allowed me access to their systems. The footage files were corrupt and unavailable. There's nothing they can do about it.
Corrupt and unavailable. I started to laugh. It was the only thing to do at that very moment, laughing. Who Woman Ember was with? Why did I strongly believe it was her? Was she back, like truly back?
I don't think she's the one, sir. She just can't come back to this town.
Oh, but she's the one. I'm gonna prove it. I downed the liquor and dumped the glass on the table. And Richard, Anyone can just come to the town.